The opening round of 2023 Monster Energy Supercross is literally on our doorstep now. Anaheim 1 is 2 days away. It's Thursday, January the 5th, and this is the final episode of the Vital MX Preview Shows presented by Yoshimura. In this episode, we're going to switch things up a little bit. We're not going to be previewing as such. We're going to be sharing our predictions, warts and all, arguing a little bit and figuring out, hashing out what's really going to happen when gates drop this weekend. I'm your host, Lewis Phillips, and I am, of course, joined by Michael Lindsay. And first of all, we kind of did this in episode 1, but we're going to really make sure that we're concrete on this and we want to stick to what we said. 450 title picks. I said Chase Sexton. I am still there. I am fully there. I'm 100% there. I have no doubt Sexton will win this year, and I can stamp him already for 2024. So put me down for that. I won't show up for this show next year. Kill two birds with one stone. Very efficient of me. I think if he's going to win the most 450 main events. He'll win the title. That's all she wrote. Mistakes will disappear. There'll still be a few, but we can live with that. And this is a year. Swap the 23 for a number 1 in about 5 months' time. Thanks for listening.
I just have to follow up. You're so certain. It makes me certain of what you're certain about.
Yeah.
But
I'm
still going to disagree and say what I said before. I'm going to go with Jason Anderson. My primary reason, again, being I feel like of everybody, it's just all on him. After what he did last year, I feel like all he has to do is not put himself in terrible situations. That might be asking a lot. We'll see.
He would just be sneaky good. If he wins the title, he will sneaky good his way to the title.
My example is if I'm putting the timeline down or the universe of Jason Anderson winning the 23 title, I feel like it ends up being a tight 3-way battle between a Tomac, a Chase, and a Jason. However, I will say if I'm calling Jason for the title, I am still thinking I'm actually going with Chase for second and Eli third, just a little bit behind him. I think it could potentially be one of the best Supercross seasons we ever see between the three of them. Maybe I'm hoping for the stars here for highlight reels every weekend. But I think between all three of them, it will be a drag-out fight. But I will give the nod to Jason. But I think Chase will come close. I could see the two of them potentially, if things don't go Eli's way with the bike or early in the season, I could actually see this being more of a Chase and Jason battle to the end.
A 3-way fight for the title, similar to 2006, would be great. So if the powers that be could sort that out, that would be brilliant. I'd appreciate that. Who's going to win the most 450 main events? Which may seem like obvious that would be the guy who wins the title, but not often.
In my situation, with me calling Jason, I actually think not. I think it will be Chase Sexton.
So do I, for all of the reasons I mentioned 2 minutes ago. Swap the 23 for a number 1.
You're just happy I agreed with you on one part of it.
Swap the 23 for a number 1. Let's get the trophy engraved now. Save time, efficiency. And let's get some graphics printed up. Why not? No time like the present. Biggest surprise. You know what? Might be the thing that pops to my mind when I say biggest surprise, which I guess would be a disappointment, but I would say Tomac not winning the championship, which would be more of a disappointment than a surprise, but for some reason that's the first thing that lodged itself in my brain.
I would agree with that because him not winning the title will shock people after the performance he had in 2022. But biggest surprise, I think, will be what we said something we talked about in a prior episode is the expectations are so low on Cianciarulo now. I think Adam Cianciarulo winning a race in 2023 will be the biggest surprise because I think people have written him off so heavily.
I think even 5 podiums would qualify for a surprise, as a surprise for AC. I don't know why the expectations have gone so low, but we covered that in episode 3. So if you didn't watch that one, head over there now. Biggest disappointment. I'll go first because I know that you'll be scared to touch this one. I kind of hinted at it in episode 3 again, but I think the expectations are so high for Christian Craig. I go on Twitter and I see people talking about Anaheim 1 winner, Christian Craig, and it makes me uncomfortable because let's let the guy find his feet. Let's let him figure the class out. Okay, he's been there before, but this is a new team, new situation. Let's let him grow. Let's let him figure things out. And then this time next year, we can talk about him winning main events. For some reason, everyone's gotten a little bit ahead of themselves. And I think that people will forget that he is new to this class despite having raced in it before. and therefore people will be a bit shocked and surprised if potentially he doesn't get a podium all year, which is definitely on the cards, I think.
I would agree on the fact that, yes, everybody is just overvaluing what Christian Craig is going to bring to the 450 class. And I feel for Christian because I feel like he's somebody that, similar to an AC, gets so much hate on social media if he doesn't live up to expectations. So if I were him, I would maybe remove Instagram from the phone before the season starts. Probably be a little bit better for the mental health. But I still think the biggest disappointment I'll label in, it falls under the same category as surprise, but I'm going to go back to the Tomac not winning the title.
No, you're not allowed to use the same one twice.
I'm not allowed to use the same one twice.
That's terrible. I'm actually, my biggest disappointment is that you just tried to pull that out, because that was pathetic. Go again.
Go again.
Yep.
Rolling the dice again.
Yep.
Biggest disappointment is going to be when Ken Roczen pulls out halfway through the Supercross season.
Okay, I will give you that, and you could also put that down as most likely.
That's your most likely.
That should actually be a thing, most likely prediction, but that also doesn't really make sense. Two random categories which are quite interesting. We mentioned on a previous show that this is a huge year for contracts, not just in America, but MXGP as well. I'm fairly certain that we have never seen a, what would you call it, transfer market where there are so many contracts coming to the end. Essentially, manufacturers can move budget from Europe to America, America to Europe, to do what they want to do to get the big names. Like, it is so open that teams can do whatever they feel they want to do. So there's some big opportunity for guys like Colt Nichols, who are essentially having a tryout with HRC. He can move himself into a very favourable position because there are so many opportunities out there. So with that, I give you two categories, most likely to increase their value. So that would be someone who, as it stands right now, maybe would struggle to get a good ride, but has the potential to do well in 2023 and therefore be more desirable to a factory team come silly season.
So I'm going to name two because I think the first one you're going to snap at me because it's a repeat. Joey Savacci, I think, has the most likely because he's, even though a lot of people inside the industry, like, his value is high of what he's capable of, clearly because of the position he's in, somehow it's not perceived as high enough that he is sort of on his own at the moment. So I'm repeating a little bit using Joey. But then my second one would be Shane McElrath.
Yeah, I agree, but then I almost feel like, in a weird way, it doesn't matter. I'd say more for McElrath, actually. I would say it doesn't matter what McElrath does. He's kind of fallen off of the merry-go-round. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel like teams just don't even consider him now. Whereas Savacci, I still feel like teams would go, no, we want him, we just don't have room for him. Mm-hmm.
What about a weird one? Because he's in a very limited situation, Justin Cooper.
You know what? We really should have spoken about him at some point in these preview shows. And
now is the time.
Is a shame. I think, I don't know, because I imagine that Star will make it happen however they need to make it happen. Especially, like, let's be honest, there is a 95% chance that Tomac walks away at the end of 2023. So I think it is so set up for him to move into that spot that he wouldn't even look elsewhere. That doesn't stop teams making a run at him.
That's what I'm saying. So, again, to your point, I still think also there's a high chance of the Webb going to Star after his KTM deal's done. I almost feel like the whole Star dabbling around with should we put Justin in a 450 Supercross has, from other teams, almost hurt the perception. Like, wait, Star doesn't think he's ready to ride a 450 indoors. Why should we be ready? And it's got all these people questioning, why isn't he riding 450? Can he not? Well, what's going on? I think he could very easily prove himself to be valuable to any team, and that includes teams outside of Star that could potentially attract their interest.
I will go for a kind of a weird one because when he signed his current contract, he was in demand, and there was just a lot of interest there. I think Plessinger is in a fairly desperate situation at the moment. I think his value isn't very high, but he still does have time to raise that value back up. All is not lost, and with a couple of top fives and a couple of podiums, he could put himself back into the conversation that he's maybe fallen out of. Which brings us to a difficult scenario, most likely to lose value over the next 12 months.
Malcolm Stewart.
Because when he signed his current contract, he was deemed a potential winner, maybe more. Let's see what happens. Whereas at the end of 2023, the picture will be clearer and teams will go, okay, we know he is a 3rd through 5th guy. There isn't much of a chance of him being higher than that. So we are getting a solid top 5 guy versus this crazy fast guy who can win on any given weekend.
Yeah, you have his age playing against him, the fact that he finally got an opportunity at a 2-year team. This is speculation.
Yeah.
If it isn't a great year. If it doesn't, people look at the end and go, okay, he was given a 2-year option at a high-level factory team. His age is up there. If he doesn't win, it's like, well, we all thought Malcolm would eventually get there, and if it doesn't happen, he could easily hurt his value, because if he loses the interest of Rockstar Husqvarna, who does he gain the interest of in turn? If he loses their value in him, where does it go?
Yeah, because there are a lot of 250 riders who are due to move up, if not at the end of 2023. They will at least look to do it with a rule change that kind of changes the game a little bit, but they are at least looking and edging towards that part of their career where they're interested in jumping onto a 450. So that plays a role as well. I will go, sticking with the Austrian family, I will go Barsha, because as we know, he now wants to continue past 2023. Unfortunately, that isn't just his decision. And if he wants to do that, he needs to prove that he still deserves a factory ride, which I mean, like I said, last year or 2022 was better than he gets credit for. So if he does that again, he'll be fine. But I think that if Barsha falls off of a factory rider merry-go-round, he's not going to have any interest in continuing on a B-level team. So the bar is quite high there for what he deems an acceptable ride to continue with. And with that...
I have one more for you.
And with that, you have one more.
How negatively could Cooper Webb affect his value?
I almost picked him, but I backed away from it at the last second.
I hate that we're staying in the Austrian trio, but it's a possibility. Could depending how he does this year, could he injure his value that much?
He was honestly going to be my pick, and I changed to Barsha at the last moment. The reason I went away from Webb is I think that no matter what, he will be looked at as a potential title threat if things go well, and that means that he will continue to be able to demand a good salary, whereas Barsha is on the edge of being... He's currently a podium guy. If he dips further, teams will go, well, he's not even a podium guy anymore, so what is his worth? So I saw that as more of a drastic situation. I think in Webb's position, he's a former champion. He's marketable. Although he didn't win a race in 2022, it's not like he was riding around in 9th. He still had podiums. He still was a threat at certain rounds. So I think even if he repeats what he did in 2022, he'll still be fine and deemed a potential title threat in the future. That wraps up the 2023 Monster Energy Supercross preview shows on Vital MX, presented by Yoshimura. There's a lot more to come. Obviously, it's Thursday, January the 5th today. Tomorrow, January the 6th, is press day. So we will have interviews and a press day video on this very YouTube channel in around 24 hours, a little bit more. Press day's early afternoon. And then obviously the season kicks off, so a lot more coming to the Vital MX YouTube channel, homepage. The forum will obviously be a hive of activity. Social media as well, the level of the Instagram, Twitter channels, etc. There's plans for that, so that will increase. A lot going on the many, many, many Vital MX channels in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for all of that. If you want to see something specific, let us know, because we can cater to your needs as well. But for now, thank you to Yoshimura for presenting these videos. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you shortly when we will know a lot more about what the hell is going to happen in 2023. See ya!